Okay, guys, welcome to episode 2
Number 2.
of the Baked Bananas.
Now, in video.
In video.
Look at
And
that.
you can see that, right? That's pretty exciting.
It's red hot.
Now, just before we get started, I just want to mention a big thank you to everyone that's listened
Definitely.
to that first episode.
100%, man. The feedback we got on that thing was actually
It's
surprising.
been phenomenal.
Unreal. So, yeah, big thanks to everyone who listened to the first one. You know, we're now going to put in the video so that it's a bit more of an enjoyable experience. And, yeah, it's been a hell of a week at least.
Well, you know, and we've also got an Instagram page now, so you can now follow us on the Baked Bananas, which is awesome. Okay,
That's
and
it.
you'll see too, like I've posted a couple of pictures up there of our Japan trip, which you know correlated to our last story.
Yep.
But this time we're going to have video, and we're going to be on YouTube.
Yep.
Okay, now, and if I can work out how to do the little shorts and stuff, I'll do that as well. But yeah, I was really surprised about the feedback we got.
Very well received. And like, even though, granted, it was probably like, you know, close friends and family, it was quite a small circle. I mean, look, honestly,
What did we say? It was 82 plays.
82 plays, which is 83 more than I was expecting it to get, because I really didn't think anybody was going to listen to it at all. And yet here we are, like, you know, it's been a big one. But I will give a quick little shout out too to someone. I don't actually know if he's listened to the first episode, but my dad, Gino. Big G. He's just had a pretty big surgery done, and he's going to be posted up in hospital recovering for a few days. So let's give him something to waste a bit of time on.
Well, luckily, Gino, you've got some plenty of content for you to catch up on.
Definitely. And if you haven't, Dad, follow the Instagram, please.
Yeah,
it'll be great. We'll put a photo up of you. You know, you can be in the stories. It'll be sensational.
And you know, following on from that, you know, I think a lot of people would expect us to have more of a plan.
Yep.
We don't.
No.
We have again just turned up.
We're here.
And here we are.
And now you can see us.
You can see us, which is kind of scary. I'm not used to that. There's a camera right there.
Another one up there.
And we've got the big beautiful lights, and it is quite full on.
This feels lush. It feels way more professional than anything that we could ever pull off in our own time with our own resources.
And the thing is too, and this was my thinking was, if we're talking and it's garbage, at least it looks good.
Yeah, that's it. There's a nice
and if
picture.
it sounds good, even better.
There you go. And hopefully, you know, like you said, if the conversation goes to crap, everything else can be distracting enough to keep you on board and keep you listening.
That's right. So again, so we will be on YouTube, and of course we'll release this episode on Spotify as well.
Oh, chuck us a follow and a review on Spotify. Actually, that would be super helpful. Get a bit of exposure, get us out there. You know, we're going to be posting up a bit of a storm. Well, I say it's going to be Jack, because let's be honest, I'm a bit of a social media newbie. Given that I logged out of them a few years ago,
you kind of that's it.
I just gave up on them. I'll be honest. I didn't have the time or the patience.
And what's funny is I did, and then we started this podcast. So now I just have the Baked Bananas Instagram page.
Yeah.
And I'm like not following anyone.
No.
So I just go on there and I just like talk shit and then post it, and it's done. It's fantastic. So yeah, look, guys, and another thing too, we are recording on Halloween.
It is indeed Halloween night.
You know, so there's a bit of some bit of horror in the air. There's some sights to be seen outside.
Stormy weather out and about, actually, on the old Goldie. But it's quite convenient. It's good timing, because this does bring me back to one of our sort of more recent stories, I guess. It probably would be around the same time as Japan.
Yeah, maybe. I think it was the next year or so later.
Yeah, look,
I believe.
Getting into sort of the first episode and how we talked about a lot of our experiences and our yarns come from drunken nights out. One of the things that I reckon you cannot beat is just a absolute banging Halloween party. And like
specifically a Halloween dress-up party.
Definitely, yeah.
Because I know where you're going with this.
Yeah. So,
and I'm a little bit nervous because it's quite red hot.
It is.
It's quite red hot.
But it's also very fitting for us.
And it's funny.
And who we are.
It's funny.
Well, I mean, we thought it was funny.
You know what? Okay, so we got invited to a dress-up Halloween party.
Yeah, and when we say dress-up Halloween party, this isn't your high school, you try and dress up as something attractive to try and score someone. We were in our mid-20s.
You've got to put some effort in.
Yeah, and it's a proper, like, dress-up Halloween party. It's not just you slap on a funny T-shirt and a set of glasses and you say you're someone different. Like, we had proper dress-ups going on. So, there was... What was going on? It was a little bit of a house do, a little bit of a shindig.
Yeah,
you know,
it was
small numbers,
kind of house party.
Probably 10 to 15 people, or maybe not even that, probably 10 people max.
Yeah.
And, yeah, we, true to form and how a lot of this stuff has sort of followed on, we left a lot of the planning to the last minute.
And the old saying, as you remember from the first episode, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Which was definitely implied here. And I remember Sam and I were having some discussions about, okay, what are we going to go as? And immediately I wanted to go as something quite controversial.
Yes.
And I know you did too.
Yeah, something that was relevant within the current scope of, I guess, the world at that point. And that thing happened to be Trump's running for presidency.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so it was, so before we go down that road, because I remember you had a couple of masks. And but we had nothing to go and put it together
Nothing too serious. And a thing with us too is we're trying to figure out what's the minimum effort that we can put in and get the maximum results.
Yes.
And I remember sitting there thinking like, okay, what can we sort of work with? What have we got? And you know, we've got access to our wardrobes and whatever else, but we didn't want to be spending a fortune. You know? Didn't want to drop an arm and a leg on a costume we're going to wear probably once or twice and, you know, grow out of it or whatever. And I remember, you know, we were just sitting around, just chatting and sort of catching up on current events. And in passing as a joke, Trump happened to be on TV. And I believe it was in relation to him and some of his contacts in the Saudis. I don't really...
I'm going to stop you there. So you had found... At this point, we had established that Sam was going to be Donald Trump for Halloween.
Yeah. I had the blue suit.
You had the blue suit. You had the red tie.
Oh, no, we had to get the red tie. But look, I had probably a solid 80% of it.
Yes.
Like, it was ready to go.
And at that time, I was still very conflicted. I didn't really know what I wanted to go as. And I wanted to kind of find a way to challenge Sam's outfit, but also complement it in a very geopolitical way. Almost
like a couple's outfit, really. It was a couple's costume.
Yin and yang. It's probably more of an accurate representation.
More yang and yang than anything. There's not much yin in it, but...
And so you had found out, so you had your costume ready, and I remember I had a mask, like a cheap mask that you'd given me, and it just wasn't really doing it.
It wasn't fitting.
And I thought, you know what, I've got this really great idea. And I remember we went to Spotlight.
Yes.
You and I went to Spotlight, and it was like the day before Halloween. It was on a weekend.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I had the idea. I went, what I'll do is I will go as a terrorist. Now, you can imagine, folks, why I'm very hesitant to obviously evolve on that story without it being too red hot, as I would say. But nonetheless, a little bit younger and naive. We committed to the clause.
I think the controversial thing would have been had you gone in that costume solo, just by yourself.
Yeah.
The fact that we'd rocked up together and I was like very obviously Donald Trump. It was the blue suit, we got the red tie and this big Donald Trump mask that essentially just the second you see, you go, oh, Donald Trump, and then you see someone dressed up as a nefarious fellow and you're like, oh,
yeah,
those two go together.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I went as Osama bin Laden.
Yeah.
And it was really quite funny because we went to Spotlight and I said, I need black sheets.
Yeah.
She's like looking at me like everyone else is buying normal costumes.
Are you sure you don't want white sheets? Or
I was like, no, it's got to be black.
It couldn't be fitted either.
Yeah, no, it couldn't be fitted. It had to be a black sheet. And in high school, I got really good at making like those kind of head things.
Like almost like a balaclava, like out of the t-shirts.
Out of the t-shirts.
Yeah,
I used to do it at school all the time.
Yeah, just to muck around.
And I thought, well, I got a black t-shirt.
Yeah.
And to give you an idea, ladies and gentlemen, my beard was a lot bigger.
Oh yeah,
it was big.
It fit the part, definitely.
And yeah, it was a big one. And I thought, okay, well, this could work. And then I went to, I think it might have been Kmart, and I wanted a little cap gun.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So I bought a little, I bought like a shotgun cap gun.
It was like a rifle or something. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
know. And I remember, so by then, and I was sending you photos going, look at me.
Look at what we've done.
Look at this.
Yeah.
And I remember sending it to Gino. So Gino, if you're listening, he'll remember when I sent him a photo of me in my bathroom with this full
get up.
With the gun, the whole shebang. I went for it, right?
Yeah.
And again, this isn't to offend anyone, but it was purely because we had Trump and then Osama, and it was just a funny thing.
And it was relevant too. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Well, look, everyone thought it was funny except for old love at JJ's when we were looking for the tie. But
she wasn't too keen.
Turns out she was a bit politically minded and didn't see the humour.
We're just looking for a good time.
I was just looking for a red tie. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, and I remember, so by that point, everything was sweet, and I said to Sam, okay, I'll meet you at the party. So I'd gotten in my car, which at the time was my big black Chrysler 300, which is already a suspicious car, none the best.
Yeah.
And I decided, for whatever reason, to wear this whole outfit while I'm driving to the party.
Couldn't get changed when you get there.
You know, so I'm like driving with all of this on. And I remember I went, shit, I've got to go to the bottle shop. And so I stopped over at the bottle shop, which conveniently was the same BWS that the bottle of vodka got nicked from in the last episode.
Exactly. It was too, wasn't it?
It was. And I remember like just about to get out of the car, and I just went, I can't go in there like this. No way. So I had to like kind of dress it down, and then I like went and got my drinks, whatever. And
Whatever
I went
it
up,
was,
and she's
yeah.
like, what are you going as? It's Halloween.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, and she goes, let me guess, terrorist. And I went, no way, did you just guess that? And she's like, people don't just walk around in sheets, man. And I was just blown away. You know?
Oh, man. So another thing that we did have to kind of ensure that our costumes were tied together and that Jack wasn't just a complete psychopath was the cap gun that he'd mentioned. There was a few rolls of ammo.
Yeah.
And that's what I remember what the article was. Now. It was about Trump supplying ammunition to certain organizations.
Yeah,
And part of the joke is that the cap gun caps that we'd bought Donald Trump kept in his breast pocket of his suit.
Yeah,
and every now and then old mate had to go up and ask Donnie for a couple more rounds.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And so I remember we got to the party, and then Sam and I quickly realised we can't go in there looking like this. We need to make it a surprise. So I took my spotlight sheet off.
Yeah.
And my head thing.
Which really you probably should have done at the bottle as well. But
well, I had the head thing off. I didn't walk around with that on it. But I'll tell you what, though, I was comfortable. Anyway, different subject. So we got to the party, and everyone was really excited because they knew that we were doing something pretty out there.
Yeah.
And people, you know, they do good costumes, but this was controversial.
Yeah.
And we went and we got changed, and we were like getting changed really fast, you know, we're getting dressed.
Super quick.
Sam's like, oh my God, I'm sweating in the suit. And I was like, you're hot. I'm wearing all black, you know, like. And then we did this big entrance.
It's like a big reveal.
And we walked out, and we were walking out, and I was shooting the cap gun, and we were shaking hands and getting photos of you and I shaking hands.
Oh man, it was great. It was comedy gold.
And I remember, like, before we went to the party, I messaged Brooke, who was hosting that party, and I said, here's what I'm wearing. And she goes, no, you are not. And I just went, yes, I am. I'll see you tonight. You know? So anyone that has some loud costumes, I want to see them.
Oh, flick them through the DMs on Instagram, you know, send us a picture or a message or whatever you've got. Yeah. We'd love to just have a gaze.
Now, you know what it means is that I've now got to find that photo and post it of the one of you and I.
Oh, you can? Do you know why? Do you recall the Christmas present that you got that year?
No.
You should.
Oh my God, I do. Oh my God.
I literally used mine this morning.
Okay, so we fast forward to the Christmas, and Sam had gone extra on it.
Mate.
Now, we never normally do Christmas presents.
No, that's a bit of an unspoken rule.
Sam and I, we just don't do Christmas presents for each other because our friendship is enough.
Our presence is the present.
That's right. It makes sense.
However, credit where credit's due. Big shout out to Dakota. It was all her idea, and man, was it a good one.
It was funny. So, to paint the picture, guys, it's Christmas Day, and I get this present from Sam, and I'm like, oh, I wonder what this, and it's, you know, it's like this big and it's wrapped up.
Nice little box.
And I was like, okay. And I opened the present and I pulled up a coffee mug. And I didn't look at the backside of the coffee mug.
Nah.
It just says on the front of it, best friends forever.
Something to that effect, you know, life's better when you've got true friendship. Or
it's something like
something
that.
Very
like a real
heartfelt,
cliche.
Really meaningful, you know, corny message.
But then you turn the cup around and on the back is a photo of him dressed as Donald Trump and me shaking hands at this Halloween party. And it's my favourite cup. And I drink coffee out of that cup every single week.
I love it. I literally used mine this morning. It was hilarious because all the other ones are in the wash. In the dishwasher. And I was like, what have I got? And I was like, oh, okay. We're starting today off the right way.
And explaining that to people was quite a funny thing.
It's gold to give people. If you ever have guests over and if anyone's at my place and you ask for a cuppa, mate, you better believe you're getting that mug. I love seeing people's faces when they read it. They're like, oh, that's nice. And they flip it around and they're like, what the hell is this?
I remember that was a good night. That was a really
it was a big night. I remember that much. But
the thing is, I don't think even then, the world's changed so much since then. That would be a bit of a no-no.
I don't think it's a costume that we could pull off again.
I mean,
maybe next year if he runs again.
I wouldn't go to just any random stranger's Halloween party like that.
No,
we knew these people very well.
Very close
we knew
circle.
that we'd be receptive.
Yeah.
Okay, you know.
I mean, in saying this, the two of the other young lads that were there, Jaden and Toddles, you know.
Yeah.
Big up to the boys. They were dressed up as a schoolgirl and a sexy nurse. It was hilarious.
Yeah. It required a lot of alcohol to get through.
It was gold. But yeah, look, I felt like that was a very fitting story to touch on today, given the week that we're recording, and this may be out in a couple of days. We may be a little bit late to the Halloween mark, but nevertheless, it's one of those memories. And I'll grab me coffee cup every now and then, I glance down, and I'm like, that's a Halloween that I definitely won't forget.
Absolutely.
And if anything happens to that mug, I'm going to buy 30 of them just so I've got them sitting around and I can hand them out to people.
Now, the weekend just been
Yeah.
was Gold Coast 500.
It was indeed.
And I know you're itching about the Halloween story, and thank you for throwing me under the bus with that one. That's going to be great to explain to...
I'm sure you're going to have plenty of opportunities to get me back for that.
Yeah.
That's for telling everyone about me bricking up in the middle of Japan.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe how many people thought that was funny.
Yeah, I actually got a message. It was like, I didn't know you had an erection in the airport. And I was like, cool. Thanks, man. You do now. So does the rest of the world.
So I had the pleasure of watching the Gold Coast 500 on the weekend, and tremendous event, and a big thank you to Gigi and Brent for hosting that wonderful time. It was really, really nice. Anyway, and watching these race cars go around the track, I then start to thought about my own driving. And in particular, Sam and our driving adventures.
Our professional race car careers.
Yes. Now, Sam, I'm going to ask you a question here.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a professional race car driver?
I was under the impression when I was younger that the red P plate on the car meant professional.
Yeah.
I found out a little bit after that it turns out it doesn't. No.
So would you remember the story about the time that we went and saw Need for Speed at the cinemas?
Fantastic.
And we were on our P plates.
Great movie.
And we saw it late. We saw it late. And we both had some questionable cars. And when I say questionable, these weren't hotted up cars. They weren't something that was fast.
No.
Okay.
Not furious either.
No. But we made them as much as we could. Right. Now, I believe you had a 94 Mazda Estina.
It was in 1997.
It was 7, was it?
Yeah, 97 was 1 year younger than us.
So mine was a 94. Mine was a 94 Ford Laser GLI.
Yeah, and I had the 323 Estina, the old Mighty Mouse, the little white hatchback.
And I had, and both these cars were white. And to put it quite promptly, we drove the absolute living shit out of them.
I'm actually surprised that we managed to sell that car off to some family friends that we knew, and their son drove it on his Ps, and I'm amazed that it made it that far. I honestly thought that I was going to be the demise of that vehicle.
Yeah, mine made it to a mechanic shop where he paid me $1,500 for it. Now, that story, I remember we used to do drag racing after that movie,
Yeah.
we were drag racing on the way home, which is hilarious in a car that old because getting to 100 takes about 35 seconds.
And about 6 gears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a burnt out clutch.
Yeah.
And anyway, you were driving home, and comes a point there. It's almost like in Fast and Furious, where Vin Diesel goes this way,
Just banks
and-
off.
and
Yeah.
Paul Walker
We go
goes
our
this
separate
way,
ways.
you know. But instead of us being like a peaceful time, I was just like snapping third and gunning it,
redlining it.
And I remember driving home, and I kept that momentum up the whole way home.
Yeah, it's one of those things, especially when you're that young, you're a little bit naive and you've got
A little bit.
okay, you're extremely naive. You've got access to a motor vehicle, and like you come out of that and you just sit there and you're like, I can do that.
Yeah.
Not only can I do it, I reckon
gonna
I can
do
do
it.
Yeah. And I'm going to do it better. I'm going
Yeah.
to be way better than those trained professional drivers or whatever.
And so I remember I was driving through in this kind of long, I guess, commercial kind of road that went past a quarry, and there was mine trucks and stuff out there. And
Out back. Go on the scenic route home.
yeah, I was taking the scenic route home, and I remember I cut through this suburb, this small little suburb, and I saw a car coming down the road, and it was nighttime, so I only saw its headlights.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was a stop sign, so I ran the stop sign. I went, nah. And I thought, I can beat him. So I did. I got in front of this car and I gunned it.
Yeah.
Then what I noticed is that this gentleman behind me, he wants to race. He wants to go fast.
Oh, yeah, he's giving it.
So I step on it, and I've got all 75 horsepower going, No aircon. Just windows down, thumping music.
That's
typical P-plater.
Standard.
So now at this point, I've got this ute, right, behind me. It's all I can identify. It's a ute, and it's got a white bonnet.
Yep.
That's all I can see. And I'm booking it. I'm crossing over double white lines, and I'm having a time of my life.
Taking the apexes,
You name
hitting
it.
everything,
And
the downshifts.
There's no street lights around me, so I'm thinking, okay, whatever. I get to this big roundabout, and I see a street light, and I look out my left-hand side mirror, and as I'm going round the roundabout, I look behind me, and on the car it says police.
Hello, what have we got going on there?
That's right. It says police. And I went, uh-oh, that's not good.
No bueno.
So I immediately slowed down to 60k an hour, the appropriate speed limit.
Yeah, the legal limit.
Which, when you're speeding for quite a long time, feels like you're walking.
So slow. It is so slow.
So I'm packing it, and I don't care who you are. When you've only got 4 demerit points, keep in mind I've already lost 1.
Yeah.
I thought, hey, things aren't looking too good right now.
No.
I know my charges already, right? So, and I'm thinking my dad's going to kick my ass,
Kill you. That's it.
Like,
Forget
I'm
walking.
done.
You're never going to do anything again.
No. So anyway, I get past the bridge, and I thought, he's not pulling me over. I went, oh I'm good. I'm okay. Nah. Get off the bridge, lights me up, pull me over, and I'm like, okay. And so I've accepted fate at this point.
It.
I've just gone, I'm losing my license.
Yep.
That's it.
And probably impounding your car
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
And I'm taking the bus to work.
Yeah.
Indefinitely. Oh, and I'm going to have to find somewhere new to live because Dad's going to kick me out.
Yeah.
Right? So this cop comes over to me, and I never forget. He kind of looked like Vin Diesel.
It's very fitting. I mean, I know we saw Need for Speed, but still very fitting.
Yeah, he looked like Vin Diesel. He's bald, very serious. And he just puts his hand out, and I knew what that meant. It was like, give me a license.
Yeah.
No words.
Yep.
So I give him my license, and he's holding it, and he's like looking around, and he starts walking around my car, and I'm like, I've got ball tires on this car.
Yep.
I've got illegal lights on this car.
Yeah. Tin's probably illegal as well.
There's a baseball bat in the car. That's another story. There's so much going on.
Yeah.
Right?
Another Halloween costume.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Yeah. So then I feel, okay. He comes back to me, and like at that moment of stress, it feels like time is just going so slow.
I think it could have also been because you were speeding so much before, everything just felt a bit
Yeah, and
slow.
I can like smell the car. It's like on fire,
yeah.
like it's hot.
Yeah.
And he comes over to me and he goes, Jack, are you a race car driver? And I tell you what, I fucking nearly said, only when you want me to be. But I didn't. I kept it reserved. I said, no, officer. And I was very respectful. And he goes to me, can you explain the following? I went, okay. And he goes, running a stop sign. I went, okay. And he goes, exceeding the speed limit by double. crossing over double white lines,
Yep.
and evading police. Now, the fourth one, I went, hold on. And he goes, and I went,
Okay.
okay. And he goes, you saw that I was a cop. And I went, no. And he goes, shut. He said, shut up.
Yeah.
And I went, okay. And he goes, I'll be back. And he fucks off to his car.
Vin Diesel to Arnold Schwarzenegger real
So
quick.
I'm sitting there going, I am done. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking about you. I'm like, I wonder if Sam's got home. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
you know. And I thought, fuck, like Sam's gonna have to take me to work, you know.
Because we were both driving this in the same manner. Like,
Yeah.
It was definitely something that was. Yeah, I wasn't doing 60 home either. Put it that way.
No. And you know what? If he didn't pull me over, I would have made record time.
Oh, fastest lap, except for that other night I picked you up. But that's another story again.
He comes back over to me, and he gives his license to me. He gives me my license back, and he goes, "Do you know why it pisses us off?" And I was like, no. And I was defeated, but I was respectful.
Yeah.
And he made a good point. He goes, you know, when you're the one wrapped around the tree, we're the ones that got to go tell your mum and dad that, hey, you know, your son's no wrong.
Which is an extremely valid point.
And
like,
it is a valuable, it's a very valid point.
Something that no one ever thinks about when they're doing something reckless or silly. It's
Especially
like
at that
this,
age.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And this is why I remember this story, ladies and gentlemen. It's why I still remember it.
Yeah.
And he just went, what's your reasoning for your actions tonight? And I said, and so I just told him the truth.
Yeah. Yep.
And I said, I'll be very honest,
Yeah.
sir. I said, I went to a movie with a friend of mine. We saw Need for Speed.
And he's a bad influence.
And from there, I got really excited and I drag raced the whole way home. And now we're here.
Yeah.
And he just kind of looked at me and he was like, I appreciate you being honest. Mm-hmm. You drive home safe tonight. Remember, stay safe. Gives my license back and walks away.
Unreal.
I could not believe it. I thought, no way.
Unheard of, too.
Right?
Like we had so many mates that have been absolutely
Over
slaughtered.
nothing.
Yeah.
Over nothing, right?
Like,
you know,
not
granted, still doing the wrong thing.
Oh, but little things like not indicating off a roundabout or something,
Yeah.
getting pinned for or pulled
I didn't
up.
indicate at all.
You didn't even stick in the lines.
No, exactly. And he let me go, and I'm driving off, and I couldn't believe it, and I'm shaking. And I'm like,
Yeah. White
know.
knuckle on the steering wheel.
And so he takes off behind me, and I'm thinking things are sweet. And I'm in a pretty rural kind of area at this point. I'm taking the back way home.
Yeah.
And there's this big intersection at the bottom of the hill, and the copper's behind me, and there's a right-hand lane. So there's a green light to go straight and the red arrow to go right. I'm so busy freaking out, looking at this cop behind me. I see the green light to go straight. I think it's green light to go right. I ran the red straight in front of this guy.
Unbelievable.
He stopped at the red light, and I just kept going. I just went, I
Unreal.
can't believe this. I got home, I sat in my car, and I was just sitting there like 10 minutes.
Yeah,
and I was like,
yeah.
And I remember, do you remember I was messaging you?
And then you called me because the message that I received was like out of nowhere. Like at this point, you know, I'd made it home. I happened to live a bit closer to the cinema that we chose, and you know, I was just bumming around, and I get this message, and it's like, I got pulled over on the way home, and that was it. And I was like, what? What do you mean? Initially, I'm like, first of all, what for? What were you doing? What's the outcome of this? What's the consequences? You know, how bad is it? Tell me everything. And I get this phone call, and I pretty much hear word for word everything that you've just heard now. And I'll be honest, I thought you were having me on. I genuinely thought it was, you know, it'd be a funny prank on Sam. I'll just tell him that I got pulled up. And then I could hear it after a few more things. I was like, oh my God, he's serious.
Yeah, I'm telling you
and
the
he
truth.
actually got through it
got through
without,
it.
I don't want to say got away with it, because you definitely didn't. You got caught.
I got caught, but I got away with it.
In a sense, I guess, yeah.
You know, I mean, he scared the bejeebers out of me. And I remember I walked inside, because I'd been sitting in my car for a good, 10 minutes, just like, okay, I need to, weather this out of me.
Yeah.
Because I
Gotta
can't go in
compose
there.
yourself. You
I
gotta-
So I'm walked in. And Mum's like, I was living at home at the time. Mum's like, how was the movie? And I'm like, good. I just went straight to bed.
Just
I was
run,
like,
yeah.
And I'm just lying there looking at the ceiling fan going around like, holy shit. I
Yeah.
can't believe I just got away with that. And I reckon for about 2 weeks, I drove really well.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
10 and 2.
That's it.
You know?
2Ks under the speed limit, indicating at every opportunity you're supposed to. And
Now, I'm going to ask you another question.
I don't like how much you're smiling already. Before you even say anything, there's already like a glint of,
Hey,
here we
Sam,
go.
have you ever got a car airborne before?
Okay, well, if we're being
All out on the table here.
if we're being logical about it, all 4 wheels off the ground, yes.
Yes.
2 wheels off the ground, also yes.
Yeah.
You know, a couple times maybe.
Okay. Before we move on from the car discussion, I've just got one last one. Do you remember that big? I'm not going to tell anyone where it is because these could all just be
Hypothetical,
made up stories.
Yeah. We could have been driving in Mexico.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Exactly. Absolutely. Right.
Yep.
On a private road.
Gates were locked.
And
no
proper
one was
safety
present.
Equipment.
Yep.
Correct.
Not
right.
public.
But anyway,
roads
that's
at
a bunch of shit, and this actually happened. So what happened was we were driving, and there was a big hill, and we went like this.
all. Well, that's what we used to do. Remember, we'd just go for drives.
Yeah, and we'd make little circuits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it
Which
was
is mental in those cars. Like,
100%, because like you see fast cars doing it, right?
Yeah.
And you might sit there and go, oh, a bunch of yobbos, but like you look at it, right, and myself being a bit of a car guy, you know, automotive electrician by trade, whatever. They've got the upgraded brakes. They've got the
They've got all the
suspension.
bits.
They've got all the parts that complement driving fast and almost driving recklessly, which you don't look at my car currently because it probably has all of them. But in those cars, they weren't set up for it at all. No. Not in the slightest way.
They were cars that my grandmother would drive.
They're cars that my grandma should have been driving.
Yeah.
Not me.
Yeah, exactly.
Not me at all.
And it's just funny that we still managed to take something responsible.
And just
And
bosh
just
it.
go, hey, watch this.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, this is actually the same car I got driven to primary school
And
in.
this is the same car that I got that same big no-no warning from the police.
Yeah.
So what happened was I found this big road that went like this.
Yeah.
And on the backside of it was the circuit, and we used to drive down there at night one night. And I said to Sam, do you reckon you can get your car airborne off that? And Sam said, I reckon
I could.
Now, we never spoke about the engineering part of the car that might be able to withstand that car getting airborne.
Nope. Never. Not once.
But we did it anyway.
Gave it a red hot crack.
And I remember I was coming up, because I went first.
Yeah.
And I was coming up the road, and my little car was like in third gear, struggling to get up the hill.
Yeah.
This is the kind of cars we're talking about. It's not like nothing modern.
Nothing special at all.
And when you see the photos of the cars, you will be like, what? How?
Yeah.
Anyway, I remember coming up the hill, and it was like that roller coaster feeling you get.
Yeah.
And
your stomach sinks. Like
the car kept going like this,
yeah.
and the road went like that,
Yeah.
and my car just kept going up, and I went, oh, and I felt that sense of weightlessness.
Yeah.
And I just remember
split
coming
second,
down
like,
and
drop.
just going, kadoosh.
Yeah.
And then I went, that was pretty scary.
Yeah.
Sam's still coming behind me.
And I think I'd found second gear at this point.
And I remember just seeing your taillights fly up.
Oh, man.
And then I just see, the taillights just looking, and I'm like, I'm in my rearview mirror. And then you just see the biggest nosedive of this car.
And you know what? Crazily enough, after we managed to do that, nothing broke on that car. Like doing that particular thing.
Wasn't that when your engine mounts was broken?
I think they were already halfway gone. I don't think it specifically broke anything in particular. I mean, I did also shear a lower suspension mount clean in half, which Dad found. Again, big shout out to you, Dino. It was a result of trying to take a small little hatchback around a roundabout in some wet weather. And
that was so fun.
It might have resulted in me going clean up a square gutter, and it wasn't like your average square gutter. It was a monster of a thing.
But you know, you looked at the damage and you're like, no.
Oh yeah, sure. I drove that thing for months, man.
I know.
Literally for months, and it wasn't until I had the front CVs go in it, and Dad was like, hey, I got a mate who's got a hoist, we'll book it in, got a second-hand set of CVs, we'll get it done.
See, my CVs were done the whole time.
Oh, yeah. I
remember reversing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, Dad took the car off me while I was an apprentice, and I was at work, and Dad's like, give me your car, and I'll go change over your CVs for you. And I was like, oh, awesome. Hell yeah. And then I get this message, and it's like, oi, what is this? And I was like, don't know. And it's a picture. And I was like, I don't even know what I'm looking at, man. That's a part of a car that appears to be broken. He's like, mate, how did you manage this? And then immediately it was like, oh, that was that gutter that did that, isn't it?
Yeah, you quickly know. You put the pieces together real quick.
Yeah, and it turns out that if I'd gone in reverse fast enough and jabbed the brakes, the whole front end of that car probably would have come falling out of it. But we didn't do that, and the part got replaced. It was repaired. Thank you, Dad. I love you. Please,
You know, it's funny though, because like people go, "Oh, aren't you scared?" Like telling all these stories now. I think it's an acceptable age where it can't be held against me.
All it happened that long ago.
It happened a long time ago.
You look at
that was 10 years ago, dude.
Exactly, and I mean, if the FBI can leak certain documents that are incriminating 50 years later,
might as well get it out on the table now.
10 years. Do it earlier, if I say. Yeah, look, it's... And like we covered in the first episode, we've made some questionable decisions. We've done some very silly things, but it's as you do at that age. A lot of them...
You do. And there's always that defining moment that you learn from, though. And
that's the difference.
I had that. Unfortunately, I had this car that my dad had spent he spent a lot of time painting it and getting it sorted, and I love that car. And And admittedly, I mean,
again, not one of these special cars.
I mean, it was
special to you guys because of the time you'd put in.
And the significant performance upgrade on it. I've just gone up a whole nother 2 cylinders. I'm not going to say the car again. I just want to keep that to myself right now.
Probably get roasted about it.
And I remember that used to skid really well. And I was driving to your place.
It was, yeah. You were on your way to mine.
And the road was just a little bit wet, and I was just a little bit too cocky, and I completely binned it and rolled it down a bank.
Kissed a guardrail and just given it the quick little mwah.
Yeah, that was the one moment, and the regarding cars that really... That was stressful.
Oh yeah.
And I was hurt. My neck was really sore. And typical airbags didn't go off, and
thankfully
third-party insurance because you're young and you're working at Macca's.
And you haven't got what's insurance?
Exactly.
Take the free shit.
Exactly. It's all you need, right?
Yeah.
And it's always something. It never leaves you. That experience.
No.
Whereas I think anyone young listening to this driving. Just remember that, you're only invincible until you're not.
Yeah, until you're wrapped around a tree or something like that. And not only that, say it's not a fatal incident or whatever, it's still quite an expensive endeavour.
And it's traumatic.
Oh, it'll stick with you. You'll learn a valuable lesson though.
You'll learn it real quick, and that's the definition of don't touch the hot stove, and you're like, fuck you, and you touch it, and you're like,
honestly,
what do you think?
I mean, the only difference between a lesson and a mistake is just not taking something from it. At least if you learn something from it, you can say it was a lesson. I mean, if you're out there just writing cars off left, right, and centre and making the same mistake over and over again, exactly, you haven't learnt anything. You're making mistakes.
But you remember, after that, I had that best little car that I loved, and I am going to tell you what car that is.
Oh yeah.
That little green Corolla Seeker I had.
Man,
that was the best little car. I'll tell you what, if you're young and you got no money and you need something reliable, it's decently quick for what it was.
Oh, yeah. It's a good little zippy car.
Yeah. Those little cars, guys. I'll post a photo of one of those as well.
Great fun.
They are fantastic.
Awesome.
And they used to have this weird phenomenon about them where they would do neutral rear-wheel drive skids.
I don't think that was a phenomenon with them. I think that was something that your bald tyres kind of
No, remember I had new tyres on it, and I was
too,
driving, and I slipped the car into neutral, and I went, "Hey Sam, watch this!" And I Scandinavian
bit of a left right,
and snap second, and it would hold the angle.
It was
really weird,
wild.
But that was a lot of fun. That little
really, really good. And chucking it into neutral. That was one of the. I remember doing that to you all the time.
Yeah, and you'd pull the handbrake on me mid-turn.
Funniest things that you could do is obviously being of that age when you're in your P's and you've got a car, you are top shit. You're going through the Macca's drive-through, and people in your grade are still working there that have to walk and catch the bus, and here you are in the drive-through.
Meanwhile, your fuel gauge is on empty.
Exactly. But nothing is better. There's no better one-up on your mates if they're trying to be a certain persona in the drive-through or whatever, and they drive a manual. just pop that puppy into neutral, and the second they try to take off, man, they're gonna rev the shit out of it. They're gonna panic and look like an absolute tit. And it was like, and it wasn't just something I did to you. You did it to me a lot.
Oh yeah,
as well.
I used to rip the e-brake on Sam.
So much fun, and
you'd be midway around the corner and a roundabout, and you just yank.
just pull it.
The handbrake.
And the funny thing was that like. We're not talking about roundabouts that are full of traffic. You know, we're not in a school zone or anything. It was always driving around on empty roads and just being absolute dickheads. But we never got mad about that shit either. Like,
no,
we always picked the right times to do it. It was always
funny.
Oh yeah,
it was always hilarious.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that probably helped us become better drivers in a sense, because you'd just be doing something and then suddenly
something went wrong, really bad. Yeah,
you're in a front wheel drive car, the arse end's kicked out, you floor it, and now the steering wheel's doing this, and you're going nowhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. I never thought about it that way. Defensive driving by your mates.
So yeah, we helped each other.
You know, and I think that's something that most people, I mean, there'd be girls out there on the P plates driving like that too. But all I can say is,
oh no, they're a different breed, bro. Those chicks on their P plates, they snipe gutters like it's their job. You find me a P plated car with a female.
But you know what though, is that you can't. It makes us sound really old, but you can't even get cars like that anymore.
Oh no,
they've all got electric handbrakes,
dude.
There's not many manuals getting around. Like we were buying old cars. Like that Corolla was a 2001.
Yeah,
that was in 2000. I don't know,
it was already
16.
Yeah,
17.
it was already over 10 years old.
You know what I mean?
Easy.
But now it's like you get a 10-year-old car and it's like, electronic handbrake. It's got cameras, everything,
and sensors, and the whole
Like my first car had no aircon. You were just hot. That was it. If you want to be cool, drive faster, dickhead. That's what your cooling
My
system
first car, every window except for the driver's one worked.
That's right. You had to get McDonald's through the rear.
The back window.
You have to open the door. I remember that.
I kicked the seat back and lay down and yell through the window.
I remember that. You're just like, 2 cheeseburgers, please. You drive up and then you just drop back.
I would be holding my arm past the fucking B pillar with my card out the window. And this is before PayWave as well. So you got to like swipe that puppy, punch the pin in. Oh man, it was a tough day. But you're exactly right, man. You cannot find a young person driving. Well, it's essentially a shitbox, really.
But we always kept our cars clean.
Oh yeah.
And I just want to just before we run out of time here, I want to touch on one last little story there about the lights that we did in the Ford Laser.
Oh yeah.
And we done them at our good friend Jordan Cooper. If you're listening, you'll know this story very well. And Sam was obviously, he was all clued up on how to do all this kind of stuff, and I've got no fucking idea.
Oh, all clued up is halfway through a first-year apprenticeship of automotive electrical. So they pretty much taught me how not to cut my finger off with a set of side
which
cutters.
You still fucking did. Yeah. But in my head, I just heard fully qualified.
Yeah. He knows 100% more than what I know.
He's bound ahead of me. Let's trust that judgment.
He's the guy.
So we got these little light strips.
A couple LED strips.
LED light strips.
RGB
we had them
strips.
on the wheel, and you could cut them off and whatnot.
Yep.
And we were all drinking beer in that garage that afternoon. And like typical bloke afternoon, a few of the boys having some drinks, and we're like
in the shed staring at your cars. Yeah.
And we're like, what can we do to these things, So then I was like, I want pretty blue lights in my car.
Yeah.
Right? So we got, and like typical like sex spec cars where they had them in the footwells.
Yeah. We're not talking like Underglow. Underglow probably would have been cool, to be honest. Like it would have made those cars.
I don't know. Anything on a 94 Ford Laser that's not factory looks a bit shit.
But these lights in particular were in the footwells, which was nice.
It was
Granted,
a nice touch.
It was a bit of like ambient lighting.
It was nice.
It was a bit different. Some people were changing out like the
little cluster
the dome light.
And
they changed that to like and it looked like a meth lab.
Yeah,
like you'd open the door and it was like you were developing old film in there or something.
Yeah, I was like, why are you doing this? I want to be able to see.
Or at least change the color, yeah. So,
but we started. Well, I didn't do anything. I don't know what the fuck I was doing. But you ran all the
wires.
But you made the lights work from house wire.
Yeah. So that was I think that was Geordie. So Geordie was one of the first ones who wanted them, and he's like, mate, I've got everything. All you got to do is just show up with your tools, and we put them in. And I was like, that's awesome. That's half of my worries sorted, And I get there and. Little LED strips, standard. I think we got them from like Jcar or eBay or something like that.
We had heaps of them.
And yeah, he pulls up this roll of wire, and I'm like, what is that? And he's like, it's wire, dude. What are you talking about? And this is like 240 house wire. Like, for anyone who doesn't understand the difference, it's like the difference between a sheet of lasagna and a spaghetti noodle. Yeah, they're made of the same stuff. Completely different functions, though. Different ratings, different things to be done with them.
But I remember you said one thing to me. You went, hey, if anything goes tits up with it, at least it won't catch on fire.
Yeah, because
it's house wire.
They're rated for a bit more amps, but, you know, I also neglected the fact of my dodgy soldering and wiring and the thing
and you had a little switch on it, remember? And you would put it down the little empty thing.
Yeah.
So whoever's got that car or found that car and they hit that switch, they had a world of surprise.
And the remote to change the colours, they all had a remote. Like you could go through.
And we had them on all four seats.
So you sit in the front, obviously in the footwell, and then we had one strip each attached to the bottom of the front seats.
That's
so that when you got all your chicks in the back of the car
and your 94 Ford laser,
when you're pulling birds and you know doing the 18-year-old bloody Deso runs,
and you're asking them for $5 so you can put fuel in your car.
So when you're doing that, you know, at least they can see their clapped out shoes they're wearing.
That's right.
And that was one of those things, and you know, that was a big part of sort of what put me onto just the joy of tinkering with shit.
And we just drove a lot.
Mucking around with cars is now a pretty big part of my life, and not so much you.
I mean, I sell them.
Well, true. I never even thought of that.
I mean? Funny how that kind of happened, but yeah. So look, guys, I think what we're going to do here is we're going to conclude our second podcast, and I know it's sad.
It's a bit shorter too.
But
that is a conscious decision that we've made too. We're going to try. We've got to
try to keep around this kind of mark. And the reason that is because, look, guys, this isn't free. Like Sam and I are paying for this.
This costs money to make.
You know, and people say you can do it yourself. Yeah, we probably could, but we have had that discussion in length, and we don't know how any of this works.
We came to the conclusion that anything that we tried to produce on our own would. Honestly, you may as well just meet up with us and sit down and have a chat.
Exactly.
It'd be way easier, and it'd be better too. So, yeah, like we said, you know, we're trying to be conscious of how much we're spending on things, and obviously while still providing the goods and, you know, making a good episode and doing the right thing. So,
I think we're gonna aim to obviously do this quite regularly, but we're gonna obviously assess it and whatnot. Look, when I say it costs money, it's not massive amounts, but we're still conscious. But the thing is, we had a goal to make a podcast, and we're staying committed to it, and we're doing it. And
we had a goal.
Automatically, you guys can see that we've just gone from audio to a full production.
Obviously,
video.
we're doing it.
We're doing it, and we're going to keep doing it.
Bear in mind, first episode was recorded last week.
Yeah.
And we said we wanted to do 3 before the end of the year. So we originally set out to do 1 in October, November, and December.
Yeah.
Technically speaking, right now it's still October, and we're
way ahead of
schedule. we are so good. So if we go quiet for a month, mate, we got time.
But the good thing, guys, is we're going to keep doing it because we've got a lot of good feedback. And again, I want to thank everyone for listening
so much.
And this will be on YouTube as well, so you can send the link out. The more support we get, the more we can do this.
Yeah.
Essentially, is what we're hoping to do.
And another thing too, guys, is now that we've got the socials and, like Jack said, you know, YouTube and whatnot, your input. Massive. If anyone that obviously knows us well enough to be listening to it, if you've got a particular story or, you know, a fun time you'd like us to touch on and talk about, hit us up.
And, you know, and the context can be serious too. You know, we've had discussions. We want to have people that, you know, that have a good, you know, on a serious note, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Although, yeah, we've had a lot of, you know, fun sort of ha-ha memories and a few laughs and everything. We've been through our fair share of
Absolutely.
Shit. We've seen enough, I guess, for people our age, and we're not afraid to talk about that sort of stuff. And if
that's
anything,
something I hope we can do.
Definitely, and talking about those sorts of things, it can be so beneficial, not just for us, but also for anyone who's listening who might be going through something similar. Again, like, we'll try not to drag on about it too much now, but that's the sort of thing that you can expect to come. You know, there's going to be some episodes where we just get together and have a reminisce and have a laugh, or we might just be, you know, you guys might be watching us catch up for the week.
Yeah, and you know what? Every episode we'll endeavour to make you chuckle, and we'll just figure it out.
We're
just going to figure it out.
Figure it out.
So that's it for us, guys. again, we'll announce on social media when the next episode will be.
Yep.
I don't know when we get this.
Yeah, look.
It'll be up by the end of the week, but
definitely before the end of the week.
Follow us on Instagram, The Baked Bananas. I will make the TikTok account. I will make the YouTube account, and I will push all those links, and you can see. And we'll see you next time
on the next episode.
How cool is that?
I love it.